Hello?
Yo, dude, what up?
Not too much. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I'm chilling. I can't remember. This is the honor system, okay? But I'm gonna ask you a question, and you tell me with the number here. Was this a 1 or a 2 hour session that you wanted to do?
1 hour.
Okay. You could have said two, and I appreciate your honesty, because I know someone bought two recently, and I was like, was that this one? Which one was it? I would have to go back and check, but yeah. Anyways, thanks for being honest, man. So let me know. We did a coaching class before. Let me know how it's been going since then, and how are things going for you?
They're going good. We did, if you remember, we did like a 3v3 lesson, which was fun with my buddies that I play a lot of threes and fours with. And yeah, we've been doing well since then. We've been playing sometimes with the build that you showed us, sometimes like stuff that we came up with kind of off of that, but just kind of
Nice,
getting a sense for like what's it like to sync up our strategy together and kind of play on the same page was really helpful. Um, so yeah,
nice.
things
Oh yeah,
things have been good, and honestly, the team play is part of what makes me want to learn to like micro a little bit because when my teammates are there and like we're having a big fight and like we could do better if I micro, but I don't know how and I like mess it up. It feels bad. Whereas in ones, it's like I for a while I was just kind of trying to do the B to GM, but lately I've been like since I hit diamond, I've been trying to experiment more and like PvP just especially confuses me.
sure.
Like I feel like I don't know what's going on in that matchup, even though it seems like I should know the most about Protoss because that's what I play.
Yeah, I know you're all good. Mirror matches can sometimes be awkward and confusing, for sure. It's totally fine that it's confusing, and because sometimes you just like, wait, why is everything I'm doing not working? And this makes no sense to me. But anyways, um, so if you'd like, we don't have to turn this into like watching a replay, talking about macro. If you would prefer just to have a full-on micro lesson, we absolutely can do that. Uh, and I can kind of like walk you through like we can like set up situations that like you encounter a lot, and we can walk you through what steps you should be taking to what you should look for, how you should set things up, how you should try to make things to your advantage. Stuff like that is totally fine if that's what you were more looking for instead of like a traditional 1v1 coaching just to learn how to apply micro to team games. Or if you want, we can do something more traditional and standard and talk about like compositions like that you should be making and how to get there properly, and and then still obviously we can touch on micro either way, but we could like really delve into micro if you'd like, or we can kind of just like talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the just kind of mixing it in a little bit
Okay,
and
sure.
talking more generally about PvP, just because like right now I feel like I don't have a game plan that I like, and I have trouble reading people because everybody does a 2 gate expand
Mm-hmm.
and I do a 1 gate expand and I don't know how to 2 gate expand, so I can't tell what they're doing.
Sure. Okay, yeah, no, we can definitely help you with that.
Yeah.
Now I can tell you what the advantages and disadvantages of each one are. What
Okay.
out of curiosity, what's your current league in 1v1?
Diamond 3.
Okay, you're fine then. You got the big boy pants on, so you can we can teach you all the relevant stuff and not just you know working on only your macro, even though your macro is still going to be a huge factor. So did you have a replay prepared then? You wanted to take a look at?
Yeah, I had a couple. One is just kind of like I liked it because what happens is I get pylon blocked, and it just kind of like throws me off enough that everything is no longer tight,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just lose to an all in that like I should have been able to hold if I had enough units.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and I grabbed another one where it's just like I make disruptors in PvP because I feel like I don't like fighting against an army that has disruptors if I don't have them, and a lot of people make them. but then I just kind of throw this fight that I feel like I was in a fine position and I just didn't know what to do
Okay, that
like with it.
I really like something you said right there. Sorry to interrupt you for a second, but I wanted to ask you now, what kind of composition do you actually like to use in PvP then?
I tend to prefer ground, although I like robo based stuff. Like I kind of it's sort of similar to BTGM, except I've been trying to mix in disruptors into that comp.
Do you feel comfortable
Um,
using disruptors when you both have disruptors? You're saying that's
no,
yeah.
I've been doing it because I'm uncomfortable, but it's like I don't like having a you get 9 minutes into the game, you have a big ground fight, and they have disruptors,
Okay.
and then your units
So
vaporize.
I can give you an idea here where
Uh-huh.
basically without making it sound like having a huge build up here, the composition would just be Zealot Stalker, Charge Lots, and Blink Stalkers, and it's a ground composition that it can transition into whatever you want it to be. It can literally become robo-based support with it. It could go into Stargate if you want it to. It could go into Templar Tech if you wanted to. Whatever the hell you want it to go into. Or a mix and match them as well. You could do any of that. But the build basically goes straight up. Just like you're going to basically max out on Zealot Stalker. And it's going to happen really fast. This kind of a composition would destroy someone who just went Disruptor. Because if you have a bunch of Charge Lots and a bunch of Blink Stalkers, you can blink away from the disruptor shot, or you can like blink it forwards past the disruptor shot that's coming towards you and just like target fire a disruptor. Stuff like that. So stalkers are very agile. They can like blink in and out of disruptor shots, no problem. Meanwhile, zealots, they have charge, right? So they actually just start getting all over the fucking enemy army with melee. And then once the zealots spread themselves out into melee all over your opponent's army, it becomes way more complicated to like land disruptor shots because you have to like hit the edge of your units and hopefully not hit a clump of your units while hitting zealots. So the key there would be all you got to do is you find out where the Protoss's bases are. When you're like when you have like charge lot zealot, or sorry, when you have charge lot stalker and they have like a base like set up with 3 bases or something, you find out where their bases are and then just literally flank with zealots. Be like, okay, some of you go left, some of you go right, sandwich. And your zealots suddenly get way better trades, and then you just support your zealots with stalkers, and then you can have like an.
So you
or go ahead. Sorry.
two sides, but at the same base, not
Yeah.
like attacking 2 bases.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could attack multiple bases if you wanted to as well, but it's basically just like a swarm of zealots. And if that's what you want to do, what I would recommend we do is we'll talk about like let's maybe look at the all-in one, just like because it's a quicker version, and then after we kind of talk about that and talk about like. In PvP, what you should be kind of aiming for, I'll talk about everything I told you in your replay, what is good about openers and how you should do it and how things can work for you. And I'll literally show you the Zealot Stalker version where I go charge lot blink Stalker. And then I'll actually give you a fucking example of how to do that yourself. And then maybe if we still have time, maybe have you try an attempt at it yourself and see how it feels.
Okay. That sounds really good. The one other thing I would say is like another thing that can happen to me in PvP is somebody just builds up and goes Skytoss, and I feel this pressure to be aggressive. It's like I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to not let them get to 18 carriers or whatever. Like they're supposed to die before that because otherwise there's no.
I want to show you something. No, you're totally fine. But I want to show you something about Skytoss. Okay. So this is something that not a lot of people do, and I want you to just really fast. Look at my stream about Skytoss, okay? Just really, really quick. This,
okay,
I think, or actually, no, you don't have to look at my stream. Sorry, I don't know why I said that. You can look at my Discord, because I can just share my screen with you.
Oh, perfect, yeah.
Yeah, just do that. It's way better than looking at my stream, because then you're not gonna hear double audios. So check this out. If you ever fight somebody who has a carrier transition, and you're like, ah, shit, okay, he's going carriers. You can actually make a unit that is faster to make than carrier, cheaper to make than carrier, and less tech than carrier, and it can beat carrier. And it is something you can mass really quick as a response if like that's just how he's gonna play. And I can talk about how you can transition or like add this into your build, okay? But I just want to give you a visual of what this looks like. So if your opponent has a bunch of carriers, he's got 16 carriers, okay? And on the other side, we have less supply. So we have 96 supply of carrier, and then you made Phoenix, and you have 30 supply of Phoenix, and that's it. This is then like so you have like way less investment. He's got like more gas. Like he's got 1,000 more gas invested than you do, and he's also got 2,700 more minerals invested than you do. So he's got a lot more investment in this carrier army than you do, and that doesn't even include how expensive interceptors are. He'd have to make interceptors for all these carriers as well to fill them up, which is an added cost, which doesn't even get included here. So realistically, this guy's going to spend probably 8,000 minerals and 4,000 gas, something like that. Now watch this. It's crazy. Watch how good Phoenix are against carrier. It's insane. So we'll give full upgrades, and now I'm going to A-move the carrier, and then I'm just going to have my Phoenix kind of back off and bleed out interceptors, just like this. And again, this is way more supply in the carrier, right, than it is on the Phoenix side.
Right.
So what I'm doing right now, does this seem like you could do this yourself?
Yeah, so I can definitely do this. Where I run into trouble is when I've got other units as well.
Sure.
And I'm like, you know, I F2 and I'm clicking around, and they're all like the ground units are derping around under the interceptors while this is happening.
Yeah.
In this situation.
Okay. So what you could do as well is you could have what's it called? You could have your you could have your army on Phoenix just on like control 1 or whatever the fuck control could be felt comfortable to use.
Yep.
And then you could go, okay, select all army. You guys go to the main base, and one kite carriers in a circle. The reason why this is really good is because what you do, this is where micro comes in. Okay, we're talking about micro right now.
Yep.
If you attack a carrier, it doesn't attack with everything immediately. Like, it doesn't have immediate, everything is attacking at once. It has to unload interceptors one by one. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually think that this patch, or this map, is outdated, unfortunately. I thought it wasn't, but the interceptors unload super fast, which is an upgrade that used to exist for carrier, which doesn't exist anymore. That upgrade's not even in the game anymore. It used to be a fleet beacon upgrade. But because like they're unloading like, but it's supposed to be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is how the interceptors come out. And it won't unload an interceptor out of a carrier if you're out of range of being auto attacked by the carrier. So if you actually like engage the carrier and then disengage the carrier, the interceptors latch onto you longer than like the range is. And you can actually pick off interceptors as you do this repeatedly. And you go in and out of the of the carrier's attack range like 4 times. And suddenly you've picked off almost all the interceptors. And then once the interceptors are dead, pretty much, and there's like all the carriers are kind of like depleted, you just sit on top of the carriers with your Phoenix and you kill them all. Like Phoenix actually hard counter carriers. And as long as there's no like Archons and Storm and shit like that as well with them. If there's that too, well, that's a supreme late game army, and I would hope that you could control the map a little bit more before that were to happen, which would come into the like Zealot Stalker realm. Like if you're not controlling the map with Zealot Stalker, then you probably are AFK at that point, because that composition's all about controlling the map. Like it's aggressive. It's economically aggressive. And I'll explain that as we get to that point later. But the only point I wanted to show you there is this is an option. If you were like, oh fuck, he's going Skytoss, you could literally change your build. You could rotate your build into Mass Phoenix and beat this with Zealots. Zealots run the base over. Phoenix deal with the carrier.
Cool. That sounds great.
You could also deal with it with Archons and Templar. Like I would say the 2 biggest hard counters for Protoss against carrier, for like if you're Protoss playing against carrier, is literally Archon Templar, where you just have your Archons get shot by the interceptors and you storm on top of your own Archons, so that not only are the Archons splashing into the interceptor, but the storm is also AoEing them. But the other version is that Phoenix thing I just showed you. You just do circles around the carriers and just latch onto some of the interceptors and then get out of range again and pick them off as they chase you, and then go in again, get some more, get out, keep killing them off as they come in. And then the interceptors just deplete super fast because they take bonus damage from Phoenix shots and they die super easy. And as long as you don't let your Phoenix get swarmed and overwhelmed, you can repeatedly kill them, because Phoenix is like 3 times as fast as a carrier. So it can go in and out and control how much carrier interceptors get out of the carrier. Other than that, yeah, obviously there's other options too, but I think those are the 2 hardest counters that Protoss has to killing a carrier.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, I guess just throw me a like. We'll come back and talk more about this in a minute or a little bit later. But I guess go ahead and throw me your replay if you didn't already do so. And
where should I do that?
just do it in the chat. We have like how you're watching the stream right now.
Okay.
In the chat right below. Just drag. You can just drag and drop, and then it puts the replay in there that I can click.
Okay. I just gotta find my replay folder here.
No worries. If you named it something as well, you can just like Control Escape if you're on Windows, and you can just find it that way and just like right click file location to make it easy for you too.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, just because it's always in documents. So, like, yeah, you gotta like sift through your account folders and shit if you have multiple accounts on your computer.
Oops! It rather than pulling it up, it pulled it up in StarCraft, and now my machine is
loading it up.
Hang on. Yeah.
No worries. You're all good. Also, just for the sake of the, you don't have to listen to me right now. If I'm gonna distract you from doing this really fast, but if you ever listen to this again in the VOD or anyone else that's listening as well, if you do the Archon thing as well, make sure you get shield upgrades, because if you don't get shield upgrades and you try to beat carriers with Archons, your Archons will feel like they're made of paper instead of actually being able to absorb damage better. So it's kind of, if your plan is to go Archon Storm there, you should probably get some shield upgrades. Okay, perfect. Let's see your replay. Nice. Perfect. Okay, so you should see me loading the game now.
Yep.
Okay. Alright. So, we'll talk about your macro, talk about your build throughout this a little bit. As to see if like things look like they're going appropriate. Like right now, already, your probe should be rallied towards the ramp. If this does not go there and it goes to the middle line, you're gonna have a delayed pylon. So you're queuing up a probe way too hard in the Nexus.
Okay.
Your first pylon needs to go down at a proper time, otherwise you're gonna supply block. And although you should have a probe being built in the Nexus the whole time, definitely try not to start the whole like double probes queued up idea until after you have already made your second pylon and you've already made your natural Nexus. At that point, then you can start doing shit like that. But you don't have enough money right now to do that, and you're just gonna have delayed buildings now. Yeah, your pylon's super late, man. You're gonna block so hard. So your build is already, your build is already behind by about like 15 seconds or like 14 seconds. Which is
okay, yeah. I don't think I even noticed that when I looked at this the first time.
Yeah, because
usually I'd rally the first one, and I think I got distracted stacking the workers. You know?
Oh yeah, for sure. But now like your tech is all delayed because your pylon's delayed, which is going to delay your gateway, and that's going to in turn delay your core and all that shit like that. And your probe is going to supply block in 7 seconds, and your pylon's not going to finish for 18. So you're still going to be supply blocked as well for 11 more seconds on top of that. And that's assuming that you make the gateway the second the pylon's done. And if you delay that again on top of that, you're going to be even further back behind with your gate. And your build's just super far behind right now. It feels like you're spending your money, but you're actually not, because you're just queuing up a bunch of probes at the moment. And they're just, they're chilling. Okay, looks like you're going to build your gateway at a good time. Okay, tip. Here's a tip for you. People do this all the time. Like, you're not the only one who does this. Everybody does this, like, before they realize this is a problem. Never move your probe the way that you just did right here, which is you move and then stop. And you don't even want to put if you wanted to put the gateway right there, I would have been cool with that. Like, that's like, good job. But always move your probe to the building site of where you want your building to be. and you're building it here. So you're not even inside of it now. So already you're guaranteeing that you're going to have like another 2 seconds of delay, because probe acceleration and probe deceleration on like, it's like, think of like a car. A car does, if you say I'm going to go from point A to point B at like 60 miles an hour, if a car is currently stopped, it can't go from 0 to 60 in like a millisecond. It has to like accelerate up to 60, and then it has to decelerate back down to 0 when it goes for, like when it comes to a stop and when it accelerates back to 60, which is the same thing a probe does. So it adds another like second into when it's sitting there to then go start walking and accelerating back to full move speed. And it's got to move to a location that's not even where it wants to be. So your gateway could be started, like just as an example here, at 47 seconds in the game, or 48 rather. Your pylon just now finished at 48, right? You could be making a gateway immediately right now if you made it right here. And even though the probe's inside of it, it's not going to make the probe be like, excuse me, hold on, I have to go to the side to be able to build it. It's not going to do that, because it's just one probe. It's going to instantly build it, and then the probe itself is going to, after it's been started, it's going to get dislodged and walk out of the building and go to the side of it. But the building is already going to be under construction. The only time it would ever do it, like, excuse me, I'm building a building here kind of a situation, is if there were multiple units here. But a unit can, like a probe can build on itself and not have a delay. So you should always take advantage of that, because as we said, 48 seconds is when a gateway could start now, and your pylon was already super delayed. And you don't start a gateway until 50 seconds.
Yeah.
So that's 2 more seconds on top of that again. That you actually did the good job pulling the probe up here with the pylon finishing. You just didn't move it to the right spot, which is another delay for you. So stop doing that. Always move your probe into the build site where you want it to be, and then build it. Never ever sit outside the build site.
Okay, cool.
And then it looks like you're scouting for a cannon rush. You're worried about cannons.
Yeah, I usually just send it to the back, like just in case there's a probe there when I send it out. Although the timing is maybe when my pylon goes down at a normal time, it's too early to do that, and I shouldn't bother. And I'm not sure when the probe shows up for a cannon rush.
If a probe is going to cannon rush you, like with intent to cannon rush you as fast as possible, a probe is going to get to your base at probably 55 seconds. Like right about here, right around here. At like 55 seconds, that's when they should be at your base. And they should be having a pylon start before 1 minute. Between 55 and 59, a pylon should be started. And that's a real cannon rush. That's like, and if he's going to fake it, that dude is cutting a cost for something for a moment just to pretend build a pylon, and then he might cancel it towards the end of it. But that could totally be a real pylon for a cannon rush if he builds it between 55 to like 59 seconds. Because if he were to do that, that would be the way that lines up time-wise is his first probe that would build a pylon would build the pylon, and then it would go immediately across the map after it builds pylon, and it would be getting to your base at about 55 seconds. And that's pretty much almost every map has the same kind of very similar distances between base to base. There's no maps that are like, well, he'll get here at a minute 15 on that map and at 34 seconds on this map. No, every map is about the same. We're talking about a discrepancy of maybe 3 to 5 seconds sometimes.
Okay.
So it's super similar.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and then so if you scouted, I would say if you were to scout with like your first gateway, normally, I would say just go to his base right away, and if you see a probe building a pylon on like your low ground or something like that. Okay, let me say it like this. If you did, I'm trying to make this not sound confusing, because I'm about to say like a bunch of shit that I'm going to assume you know, and I don't think you know. So I'm going to clarify everything really fast, just to make sure. Do not scout with a probe pylon. You don't do that.
Right.
That is,
I don't.
Yeah. So that is what he's doing to you, because he wants to cannon rush you, and that's a really early probe. So you should scout after the gateway if you want to scout, which is totally fine. And if you do that normally, you're going to be scouting out of your base by probably like 30 seconds, or like somewhere right around like 35 seconds. You're going to leave your base like just a little bit before the probe gets to your base. Now, if you see a probe crossing the map past your probe, like let's say you cross him right here at 47 seconds, or like 48 seconds or something like that, or here at 45 seconds or something, whatever. If you cross him where he's already like on your side of the map, and you can clearly tell, okay, this map is symmetrical, and he's here as I'm leaving my base after I built the gateway. And this is like right next to my gateway. It's like almost like one screen length away. Clearly he left his base early. So you don't even need to see that he's here at 55 seconds if you can kind of do the math in your head and go, well, if he's here at 45, whatever, right? Like if the distance between him going from here to here might take me to 55 now, because it's kind of close to my base and he's already here. So you need to kind of pay attention to shit like that. Notice things like that if you can, and you can also tell if someone's going to cannon rush you before you even see the pylon get thrown down. It's all about timing of when you see things. If you saw a probe leaving your base, like right here, let's say you scout right now, like right there. There we go, right? You actually just saw a probe. Perfect. That's not a cannon rush. The chances of this being a cannon rush are incredibly low because he's getting to your base right about like at your ramp by like 1:14, 1:15. That's like 20 seconds later after when he should have been there. Now, he could cannon rush you still. It is a possibility. Some people do weird shit sometimes, but the odds of it working are now lower because you should be closer now to having access to a gateway and having access to a cyber core and other things that can now deal with it. So if he's going to cannon rush you, he's going to do it necessarily pretty early. So this should not make you worried about like, oh my god, he's cannon rushing me right now.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and then this is another sign too. Like if he comes in your base and you saw him there and he's not hiding in Fog of War now, you know he's not cannon rushing you like right there. You know he's not doing some weird bullshit build because he's literally running into your base. And if he's here, he's not here. Like this is a... And if he wasn't here, you'd be like, well, what are you then? What are you doing? So like indirect scouting is a huge thing that you need to pay attention to because, yeah, cannon rush in this game particularly is irrelevant. Now your build, again, is super far behind, and I think the best way to describe how far behind your build is, rather than pointing everything out, I'm going to write down numbers for you that we're going to compare when I give you a build. Because I am going to give you a build either way. Okay, so he pylon blocks you. Also, do you see how you were trying to take that expansion? Really, 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 really late. So he sent a probe down before you. Even if he did send a probe down before you, you would have tried to have taken that natural at about like 530 minerals, which is really fucking late. So if you notice, look how the probe is not blocking your natural, and you already have enough for a nexus. That is definitely on you that is getting blocked right now, because you could have been more assertive and sent a probe down there faster to actually build that, because you had the money for it, and you just weren't there.
Yeah, so when I diagnosed this, I misdiagnosed it. I thought that I was messed up by the pylon block, but I messed things up from the beginning.
Yes,
like my
100%.
build.
Yep.
Usually I hit that timing where it's going down at 400 minerals, but I do still get thrown off if someone pylon blocks me at that time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely something you just gotta watch out for and think about, I guess. But it just takes experience to get used to. Now, if you play 2 gateway or 1 gateway in PvP, either way, I just want you to know something. If you ever play against 2 gateway, so it doesn't matter if you play 1 or 2 gateways. It matters if you play against 2 gateways. Automatically, what you need to do now is as soon as the core is done, you need to watch the clock or something. Like if you want to be efficient with this, you could do what I'm about to say. If you don't want to be efficient with this and you're going to panic a little bit and you think you're going to fuck it up, you could make this happen faster. But essentially what needs to happen is you need to account for the fact that adepts could be a thing now. And if they are, you need to have the ability to constantly block your doorway. If you let adepts in your base, the game will literally end if this guy has somewhat decent micro. Because you could just kill way too many probes that the game just kind of comes to an end right away. Like, adepts kill probes way too fast. But the fact that you have the ability to block your door here, which is really good, by the way. I'm glad that you built on your ramp and not like he did. I think that's actually not great at all, the way he built that. Because if you went double gateway adept, you could instantly win the game. Like if I saw this, I would go double adept against this 100%. Because you would just shade into the base, kill probes. And you would kill way more probes than what those 2 adepts are worth. like 100. You would kill like 8 probes before your 2 adepts die. And then this guy would be on fucking like 16 probes when you're on 24. And it would just be game over at that point because it's way different economies. And you just mine way more. So if you play against double gateway, you need to leave a probe like right there. And you want to ideally leave it more on the inside than on the outside because you don't want this probe to die when it builds a building. And the building you want to build is actually a shield battery. And you want to block your doorway every time adepts try to shade into your base. Now, this guy might not do that. That is possible. He might not do double adepts because he is actually plat and you are diamond 3 at the moment. And I don't expect that to be something that's going to always happen in that range of league. I just don't. But as you grow as a player, and this guy still might do it, it's going to be something you're only going to see more often. Like if this was a master's level coaching lesson and you were a master's 2 Protoss or something, I'd be like talking about adepts right now and you'd be like, yep, 100% happens like fucking 90% of the time. Almost everybody does it
sometimes, but most people don't do it. Sometimes they do, and I do block with the shield battery. I don't know what the trigger is for putting the probe there ready, and I don't know what the trigger is for taking it away. Like, okay, it's not gonna happen this game.
This is the good questions. That's what I'm gonna. That's the next part about it. But the fact that you're already thinking about that's really good. So the trigger would be you put it there when adepts are active on the map and they're a problem. And the way you can know that without even seeing this is if you know the build time of a core and you know the build time of an adept internally in your head. And if you don't know those things, those are things you should start memorizing and thinking about. But if you actually scouted his core right here, if you went in his base and you see that core right there. Now, if you don't know this, again, like I said, this is something you should know. But if you can look at that bar right there, that's the core. Does that bar that's empty and not done yet, does that represent a number to you in terms of time? And if it doesn't, you should try to make that represent a number. So the way you can tell what number that is you look at, okay, percentage-wise, how far along do I think that bar is? And I would say if you guessed anywhere between 45 and 50, that's great. I would guess like 45. My guess would be, oh, that's about like 45% of the way done right now. And that's fine. And then again, it does not. You do not have to be exact, okay? And we're not talking about exact decimal to the decimal point numbers here. There is a little wiggle room, and it's totally fine. But if you can guess that that's around 45%, and then if you know what 45% of the total build time is of the core, and you take the difference there, then that's just something you should know as well. And if you don't know the whole build time of a core, I believe it's 36 seconds. It's 36 seconds. So that's something you should be able to know yourself. So if you go, okay, well, if that's almost halfway done and a core takes 36 seconds, I'm guessing that we need to have maybe like 20 seconds left. If you just did that math in your head right there where you go, okay, well, what's half of 36? That's 18. And this is a little bit less than halfway done. So it's probably more like, again, it says 14, but it doesn't have to be exact. If you guessed like this was 16 seconds of the way done out of 36, that's fucking great. You were like 20 seconds are left. That's totally fine. Because again, as long as you have a ballpark somewhat idea what that means, it means that you can tell yourself, okay, in the next 20 seconds, his core is going to be done. So what's 20 seconds from now? That's 2:13. And then if I were to ask you, what's the build time of an adept? If you don't know that, something you should learn. But if I'll just tell you what it is, it's 30 seconds. And if you could go, okay, so at 2:13, the core should be probably done. And then 30 seconds on top of that, the adept should probably be should be finishing around then. So 2:13 plus 30 is 2:43. So you could literally tell yourself at 2:43, adepts will be popping out of these gateways if this guy wants to go adept. And that means how long do we have to count for travel time now? I would say it probably takes an adept about like 20 seconds to go from point A to point B. So grand scheme here, at 3 minutes, there better be a fucking probe ready to block this doorway. And if you pull, sorry, just to finish it off, if you don't do any of that math in your head, and you don't account for that kind of stuff, it's gonna sound crazy and confusing and overwhelming the first time you look at this. But once you do this for like a month or 2 months, you're gonna be like, okay, this really makes a lot of sense now. I feel like I'm internalizing these timers in my, because it's always the same. It's not like a core changes in build time and an adept changes in build time. These things are always the same. So once you kind of like get those down, it'll feel natural to you. And the worst thing you can do is panic and go, oh my God, he went double gateway. I'm going to leave a probe there right now at 1:55. And he's not going to even beat your base till 3 minutes. So you're wasting an entire minute of probe mining time just to sit there. because you're not fully understanding a adept's timer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. The only thing that can make the things different, by the way, is if a building is chrono boosted, you take 1/3 of the build time off because it makes it 1/3 faster, essentially. So if it takes 30 seconds to build an adept, it actually takes 20 seconds if it's chrono boosted. It's the only differential there. And how can you tell if he might chrono boost his adepts? This is the final bit here. And this is how much information exists in this guy's base with your one scout right now. You saw chrono energy, and you see that by the time this core is done, he's going to have 2 chrono boosts ready to go. So the possibility of him double chrono boosting double gateways right now is a very real possibility. If this guy only had, instead of having 89, if he had 39 energy on this Nexus because he was chronoing probes all day, well, then you can automatically rule out a double chronoed gateway. Like, it's just not happening. So at the most, it would be 1 gateway, or he's just going to keep doing probes, or he might even chrono boost the cyber core for a faster warp gate, which is whatever. It's not going to be hitting you immediately. That upgrade takes in itself like over 100 seconds. It takes a long time, essentially. It's definitely not faster than like an adept would build. So the point I'm trying to make here is adepts are scary when 2 of them get in your base at one time, because 2 adepts can one-shot a probe. That's why it's such a problem. So those are things that you would need to pay attention to and need to be a potential thing that you need to worry about. And now as a response to this, like I said, all you got to do is leave a probe on your ramp and make your own units as well and stuff like that. Now I'm going to talk to you really fast about 1 gate versus 2 gate, okay?
Okay.
So the advantages of... but before I start, do you have any questions about what I just said a second ago? I don't want to make this too confusing.
No, that makes sense, and it sounds really fun to start practicing that, because it's totally not how I play the game right now, but it's like a nice like way to stay present and try to like challenge myself to like, okay, what's going on here? Like what's the time? Like,
no, for sure, yeah.
Like, I like that a lot, yeah.
That's something that a lot of people that watch StarCraft or play StarCraft and they're like, I feel overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed. I don't know. I'm going to die. I'm going to die. Those are people that play StarCraft and they don't look at numbers. They don't look at this game in a mathematical way. They just play off of feel, and they're like, well, I feel like I'm fucking dead, so I'm going to die. And this is not good. I feel like I'm dead. I'm dead. And they panic and they freak out. But if you just look at what is capable mathematically, you can rule out a lot of shit that can't happen anymore. Just like how I talked about earlier, it was, again, another mathematical way where we talked about the probe on the ramp. A lot of people see a probe, and it could be at 140. And they're like, oh my god, cannons, 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 cannons. But it's like, bro, like that's way beyond cannons at this point. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Even if he runs over here and builds a random pylon, you're going to have like stalkers that'll go kill that. It's not a big deal anymore. Like by the time it gets set up, and you're not going to be scared. But if that probe came to your base at 54 seconds, you got a problem and you need to worry about it, because now you're suddenly like a full minute off of your stalker, which is going to, blah, blah, blah. So looking at it mathematically definitely changes how you look at the game if you start learning shit like that. But now talking about 1 and 2 gateway openers. 1 gateway openers, the advantages are you can obviously get a faster nexus, but you're way more vulnerable to damage because you don't have as many units. And the difference of a 2 gateway opener is the complete opposite of that. You get a later nexus, but now you're no longer really vulnerable to damage. You can actually, if you want to, inflict counter damage to your opponent. So how do you make these work properly? If you want to go for a 1 gate expand, it generally plays out well if your build is going to be tech focused. Okay, so a great way to make that work is if you wanted to get like a really quick shield battery to offset the difference of you only having, let's say, like 2 stalkers when he has 4 stalkers here, because he's got double your gateway power. So you don't want to be like, well, shit, I just lost my 2 stalkers to his 4 stalkers and I'm dead now. No, instead you want to have 2 stalkers with a shield battery fighting against like 4 stalkers or whatever the hell he has there, or 4 adepts. And then if it's adepts, obviously you can build a shield battery and block him out from getting into your base. But that block, again, it doesn't matter what build you're doing. It matters what build he's doing. And if he goes double gateway, that is mandatory if adepts could exist. Because you don't know if he's going stalker or adept yet. But if he does go adept, it's mandatory that you have a block door there. If he goes stalker, it's not mandatory anymore. As soon as you realize he's going stalkers and not adepts, you don't need to worry about the door anymore. So that's like when it's over. Now, the door also doesn't need to be blocked anymore Once you get enough units to feel confident that even if he does run into your base, you would be able to chase him and kill the units in like 1 second. And like it would just be like, yep, he's in, he's dead. Like you have like 8 stalkers or something like that, and you're just like, yeah, I'm not worried anymore. I'll just kill it right away. Or if you had like blink as well, it's really not a problem then either. And now if we're going to talk about a 2-gate opener, for you a little bit more, a 2-gate opener, the good thing there would be you could actually open up with more units. You don't need a shield battery as fast. You could take a natural a little bit later, but you could actually offset the difference by maybe poking your opponent and maybe distracting your opponent and maybe even doing damage to your opponent if they're sloppy and they mess up a little bit with their build. In any way, you can start taking damage against them and punishing them for that. Like my PvP go-to, just so you know, is almost always 2-gateway opener into an expansion, and then I make about 8 stalkers out of 2 gateways. Like I just literally go 2 stalker, 2 stalker, 2 stalker, 2 stalker, and then I go from there. And a lot of times I'll poke around with 2 stalkers, and you can win so many games if you just know how to use stalkers. It's actually crazy. Stalkers kill shit so fast. Like they just hit really hard for early game stuff. So anyways, that's generally how you'd want the game to go overall for the start of this game. Now, if this guy blocks your natural like this, again, this is not ideal. You could have built it if you would have just had a probe there faster. But if this ever does happen to you, and let's say the guy does a good job at denying your natural, and even though you were doing it correctly, you still got blocked because you built the pylon so fast. What I would recommend you do, genuinely, is I would say you could do one of 2 things. You could either take a 3rd base as your natural, which is going to expose you, but make your natural be on time still. Or you should chrono boost out a gateway unit and kill the pylon faster. And it shouldn't be a zealot, by the way. You should never make a zealot. It should be a stalker. So if you chrono boosted out stalkers, you could get rid of the pylon faster and then build your own nexus there, which is a safer location. But the difference would be, are you chrono boosting probes or are you chrono boosting stalkers? So that's the only way I would say that makes a difference there. And either way would be fine.
Yeah. So I feel like my core, even with the timings not all messed up, when I do get blocked like this, my core isn't done, and so then I'm like, I either have like time where the pylon's just sitting there, or maybe I pulled a couple probes to attack it.
So pulling probes is not a good idea because you're going to undersaturate your resources, and that's like winning for your opponent now. He's literally losing 100 minerals, and that's it for that to die. And you're losing way more than what 100 minerals is worth by having probes kill the pylon. Because that's a lot of time that a lot of probes are going to be smacking that thing. Like, you're going to probably lose like 500 resources to kill 100, essentially.
Mm-hmm. But my natural ends up being pretty delayed if I wait for the stalker, it feels like. Like, if I wait for the ability to make a stalker.
Sure. That's because also you got to think, it's also because, like, in this game particularly, your pylon was fucking late, your gateway was late. So if you wanted to make, like, if you, and this is also, we're talking about a double gateway opener. So I should have prefaced that more too. If you want to wait to kill the pylon, that only makes sense with double gateway. If you actually wanted to kill it with 1 gateway openers, I'd say probably just take a 3rd base, because you're going to have way too much money otherwise in the bank just sitting there. So if you're going for a 1 gate, and I don't think you should even go 1 gate openers anymore, by the way. They're way harder and they only work with tech. And already if you're going to do the build I'm kind of recommending you to do, which is charge lot stalker, this is not a tech build. It's a mass build, so a double gateway suits that way better. So yeah, if this, in this particular situation, I would say you should just go take that right now. Like, literally expand immediately to your 3rd. Or up here, either one. Because yeah, that is super delayed. You're really, 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 really far behind right now, overall. Let's just really quickly go to 3 minutes, and I'm going to pause it, and we're going to write down numbers here for you. Remember, these are going to be comparisons. So at 3 minutes right now, get a notepad out. At 3 minutes, you have 3 minutes on the clock. You have 29 supply, and you have 22 of that is probes. 22 probes at the moment. Your natural is 33 seconds of the way done. 33 seconds in. And your warp gate is 11 seconds in. Warp gate, 11 seconds in. And you have right now 1 stalker and 1 zealot. 1 stalker, 1 zealot. And you have in production 1 sentry. 1 sentry in production. Okay, so we'll come back.
Yeah.
We'll talk about more shit in a second here, but we're gonna come back. Like we're gonna compare. Okay, the build I'm gonna give you versus what you're accomplishing this game right now. And I know you're delayed by the pylon blocking a natural and shit like that. So you're definitely slower than what your norm is. But there's other things that happen like before the norm that are slowing you down again. And
yeah, I'm gonna get supply blocked here too because I'm not used to both messing up my build and getting blocked. So I'd throw down the pylon like it's about to happen here. I'm sure.
Yeah, I also want you to know that now that you're in Diamond League, probably stop using beta GM for like the like. Yeah, it still could work. I would genuinely say your win rate in Diamond 3 with beta GM should be like 70%. But in Diamond 2 it should be like 55. And in Diamond 1 it would be like a 30% win rate. Like if you're just going to do the straight up hardcore, I'm never going to fucking micro shit. I'm just going to go charge lots, Archons, Immortals, open with Stalkers a little bit, one Sentry to Scout. Like if you're going to keep doing that every game and you're just going to macro only and then max out an A move, like that shit's gonna stop working as you go up now. It works 100% when people don't know how to macro, but as you grow through Diamond, people know how to macro now, and you need more than that. You need to start being able to handle more shit than that. So it's gonna definitely feel like it doesn't work anymore. It's gonna feel like, and if you don't execute it perfectly either, the win rates go down from what I just said. Because the win rates I gave you, in my opinion, are like those would be your win rates even if you do it really well, like perfectly, for what beta GM bronze to plat is designed for. Because again, it's bronze to plat, it's not diamond. The builds change in diamond.
Yeah. So I just kind of, because it's what I'm familiar with, like I tend to open with 2 gates and a robo, but then I've been microing a little more, like kind of like trying to like not just A move, and that's sort of the way that I've approached it. But I don't, especially in PvP, I don't have like a build that I like, you know.
For sure. I actually want to do 2 things with you, if you don't mind. I want to actually do a 1v1 with you, and I want to just go 2-gate Stalker against you, and I want you to see how it can feel if you know how to use Stalkers, like against it. And just because you could use that, and we can be like, okay, so this is what an effective 2-gate Stalker looks like. It's not even all in, it's just macro, but it's multitasking. So that's like how you could use your build. And then like other than that, I'll actually give you a build guide to be like, this is how your build should look overall. This is what you should be kind of aiming for, and you should save the replay as well. The long one I give you, because it's gonna like take you to max out, and it's gonna be like, how can you play efficiently? This is what it should look like for you, all the way from 0 supply to 200 supply. Because
that's great.
Because like right now, this game is becoming unsalvageable, because you have 2 Stalkers versus 8 Stalkers right now, and you're already dead. Like you should be dead, right? Like you are about to die. And you're just too far behind now. You don't have, your robo is a bit late, like for what it is, for what beta GM is as well. Like this immortal should be out a lot sooner to keep you alive, because that's the only reason, the only way you'd be able to survive something like this is if you genuinely had faster tech, because 1-gate builds only stay alive because of your tech. That is genuinely how 1-gate builds work. And this is the reason why they're difficult in PvP, is because based on what your opponent tech is, needs to change what your tech is going to be as well. So like in bronze to plat, you can get away with a robo every single time and you can be fine, because your Stalkers out of 1 gateway can deal with whatever they do because their macro sucks. But if you're playing like Masters players or high diamond players, and you go robo and they go oracles, you die and you're just dead. Like you will not win. Or if they proxy Stargate you again with like voids, you just die. Like you have to basically pick whatever tech you're gonna do and be very assertive with it and scout and react to make 1-gate builds work. They're very, very hard compared to 2-gate builds. 2-gate builds are so much easier because they're just mindless. It's a lot more like, I'll just make Stalkers off 2 gateways and call it a day and make probes and like you're fine.
That's really good feedback. That's kind of exactly the kind of thing that I was looking for here. Is that like, should I still be opening?
Yeah, definitely not.
Sounds like no.
It's more complicated than
I'm
like,
gonna open 1 gate when we 1v1 though, because that's all I know how to do.
Oh, that's fine. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're gonna be dead. You're gonna be dead faster than this.
Okay.
Like that's just what 1-gate does. Unfortunately, I'll give you a tip. Okay. So I would say log in right now, and then I'll invite you to a game. But here's the one tip I'll give you. The only way you're going to survive, you have to build a shield battery immediately at your natural. If you don't have a battery before I show up, you're automatically dead. If it needs to be done already. The only way you don't die to double gateway pressure, if I open double gateway and you open up one gateway, is if your battery is done already, because you'll never have enough units to stop it. So the only way you stop it is with the battery healing you through it. And even then you're not going to be fully safe, because I'm going to drain that battery, and you'll see what I mean. It's going to feel shitty for you. Like it's going to not feel great. So if you do this yourself, it's going to feel great for you on the other side of things. All right. So I don't know if you're in, just join channel like Vibu or something, and I'll just invite you to the game that way.
Okay.
Or you can send me a message in GM. That would also work. Right now I'm rank 119. Either way is fine.
119. Okay. Letters, GM.
And the account's called Lullabiv. It's like Vibe LOL backwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, sick. Nice. Okay, so yeah, you can do whatever you feel comfortable with. Like the one gateway, that's fine. But yeah, just remember, if you don't build that battery immediately at your natural, you're going to feel pain really fast.
Okay.
This is what you should be doing with 2 gateway openers. From like, if you do my perspective of it. And then like after this, I'll run you through the build and I'll give you a whole breakdown of it. Okay. It's good luck, dude. Good luck, good luck.
Good luck.
I typed like crap, but it's okay. Alright. I'm no longer going to talk to him for a minute. While we do this, I don't want to distract him. But yeah, we're just going to aggressively shove him with 2 gateway. I just muted the mic without having to hold the hotkey to mute it constantly. It's kind of annoying to have to hold caps lock every time I want to talk. Is this my mute button? So now he can't hear me. He'll be able to hear me in the VOD though. So anyways, yeah, we're going for, we're going to chrono boost our Nexus like 1 time, and then we're going to double chrono boost our gateways. And we're going to get really aggressive. And again, you don't have to be this aggressive yourself, but definitely if you do want to be this aggressive, you'll see. It gets pretty hard to deal with for the other guy. A gateway has a longer build time than a core, so you want to start your second gateway before your first gateway is done. This gateway is a little early, but it doesn't matter because I'm saving chronos anyways. I would have wanted to build it a little bit later if I double chronoed my Nexus, because I wouldn't have been able to afford it probes properly otherwise. But it's fine. The way I did it is fine because we didn't double chrono our Nexus. Okay. And now we're saving 2 chronos. We're about to have it, as the core is going to be done here pretty soon. We're going to be very close. We're at 92 energy. We need 100, 93, 94, 95. Make double stalker. Chrono boost, and 47, 48, 49. Double chrono boost. Okay. And now behind this, we can take our natural. And we'll not yet though. We're gonna take double 2 rounds of stalkers first, and then we'll take our natural. And now he needs to try not to die to this, because this is gonna be some serious damage that he's about to take. And we're gonna take a natural. So like, if this build still expands, it's just an aggressive form of expanding. Okay, his battery's done, so good job by him. And now we're draining the battery. We're just maximizing the damage my stalkers take. And then letting my shields regen. And we're getting more stalkers over here as well. So good job on the battery. It's not over yet. And your battery right now is probably low energy because I just drained it a lot. But the fact that you had the battery means you stayed alive for that thing, and that's mandatory for one gate. So good job so far.
Okay.
But now here comes more. It's not over yet. And all I was doing there is I'm just trying to burn your energy and outpace you with stalkers. And then if we look at the replay, you should have a probe lead a little bit when I'm doing this attack. But then what happens is if your natural breaks, my natural finishes. And now I start making probes while I kill yours, and I just rotate the lead into my favor now. And then I have a probe lead and a tech lead. So the only way you would be able to stop this, realistically, is if your immortals are really fast. That's why, like, the immortal needs to be fucking quick as well, because tech is so reliant on what your opponent's doing in 1 gate versus 2 gate. If you're the 1 gate guy, Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
The immortal was late too. Like the robo was late, and the immortal started late, so it was not going to work out.
For sure. And even if you make an immortal, it's not even like guaranteed you're going to be okay. I could still out micro it with stalker micro, potentially. So it's scary to stay alive. Because there's so much fucking potential for, like, shit to kill you. And you could, like I said before, you could literally just die to stalkers versus 1 gate. And that wasn't even in all. It was 2 gateways while I expanded. With just stalker production while I was making probes. So it's a bit brutal. 2 gate definitely is an easier build to do. And now I'll run you through 2 gateway instead. And, I guess you can watch this on Discord or you can watch this in the game. Either way is fine with me, but I'll make another game really fast. And this time you can be a referee, so you just can have the replay like saved in your folder automatically. I'll invite you to it. And this time I'll run you through how the build's supposed to work, okay? But generally speaking, before we do it, this is how it goes. The whole point of this build is to have stalkers in the early game to stay safe versus all different kinds of all-ins and aggression, because there's no guarantee that says your opponent has to expand. If he doesn't want to expand, he doesn't have to. So this build is going to give you a good healthy amount of stalkers that can deal with 1 base all-ins, or it can give you now the ability, if you want to play aggressive versus someone who is expanding, who's playing more passive than you. So it's good defensively or aggressively, based on the tempo of how your opponent wants to play. And if they're going to play passive, you should totally be aggressive with this kind of what I just did to you a second ago. Definitely like poke them and be annoying. Because like you can definitely force mistakes on them while you're making probes and expanding. But here's how the build goes. This is the big thing you need to really not fuck up. Never ever, until you want to make a transition, take more than 2 gases. So you take 2 gases on your first base, and you literally take like 5 bases, and you don't ever take gas again on any other base. That's the big thing you want to not mess up about this build. Because if you take gas constantly every time you expand, this build's going to feel like it's terrible.
Okay.
And then behind that, based on the way the game feels and how it's going, if you want to make a transition to something like, I want to go Mass Archons, I want to go Skytoss, I want to go whatever, what you do is you keep making probes on like 4 bases minimum, ideally like 5 bases of probes. You keep making probes, and then you literally make probes all the way up to about like 90 probes. And as you either mine out mineral patches and then transfer more around, or as you oversaturate mineral lines, you then add on all of your gases on like all 5 bases. And then now suddenly you go from 2 gases to 10 gases, because it's 2 on 1 base versus 10 on 5 bases, because it's like 2 gases per base. So that you have a gas explosion then that allows you to make a tech transition. That's how this would go. But otherwise you're literally slamming zealots all fucking day with some stalkers. And the idea, the general idea is you don't want to lose stalkers, You want to retain stalkers because you have blink. It's very easy to keep them alive, and you're supporting zealots with your stalkers. You're never going in first with stalkers and letting your stalkers all die. You're always expecting zealots to die, but they're doing a ton of damage in the process. So your stalkers are supposed to just build up and up and up and up and up. Meanwhile, zealots go in, die, rebuild. Go in, die, rebuild. Go in, die, rebuild. Because minerals are disposable when you have 90 fucking probes mining minerals. So that's how the build works. That's the general theme of the build. If you do this macro-wise effectively, I guarantee you're going to win almost every PvP you play. I do this build myself to like 5.4k Protosses and 5.3k Protosses, basically GM Protosses, and it still has a high win rate. Because it's fucking insane. Like, most people just get over flooded by zealots and they're like, oh my god, I'm dead. Like, it's just a lot of shit I can't deal with.
Awesome.
So yeah, anyways, if you have any questions while I do this for you, please feel free to ask. And I'm going to pause the game one time at 3 minutes just to compare the notepad of what you had versus what I have at 3 minutes. And then we'll see the difference. And then from there, again, I'll still break the build down for you and we'll just keep going forward. And then you should always keep this build for yourself as like a quota checkpoint for yourself to go, am I actually on point with this or am I behind? And if I am behind, am I even, let me refer to the replay and compare what I'm doing to what Vibe has done in this replay. So that way you can see if like you're even on point macro-wise or if you're just like falling off hard. Okay. So we got our probey boys being made. First probe goes out to build our pylon. Stack our close mineral patches with minerals, probes from the mineral patches. So I already have all my close patches already stacked, by the way, like now with my first 12 probes. 4 of them are on far patches, 8 of them are on close patches. That's huge if you can. Oh, that shouldn't go there. That's huge if you can do that, because it just increases your income. Now I'm gonna grab a probe and go set up that gateway, and I'm gonna do it in the build site where I want it to be, like right there. Good to go. Chrono boost my Nexus now, one time, and then I'm gonna take my gas behind this, and now all my patches should be good to go. We should have 16 probes, 2 per patch. Now I can start saturating. All right, here at this point, this should be. I'll make this your new scout. Okay, this should be your new scout. This is still early enough to find a lot of shit out. I'm gonna pause one time and just say this really fast. So we're optimal on minerals. Okay, there's no downs. We're not cutting minerals here to scout. And if you're gonna get cannon rushed, you would be seeing a cannon rush happening right now. It would be pylon would be started in your base right now somewhere. It would already be started. It's the only way that would be cannon rushing you, because if a pylon doesn't start for the next 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 seconds, it just makes it weaker and weaker and weaker as you go forward. So a cool reaction you can have to cannon rush, if this happens to be a cannon rush, would be right now. You could make a forge yourself and then start making zealots and try to beat this with zealot forge and cannon. You could do that if you want to, and then also expand behind it and keep making probes. So you're making like pure mineral to defend this. You're making cannon, you're making zealot, you're making a forge, all this costs minerals, and you're making probes, which eventually are going to keep making you more money to eventually expand with. And then you can just transfer a bunch of probes once you've dealt with it, and you're good to go. And then eventually you can also make your cyber core once your gateway's done, if you have enough money to spare, eventually for a cyber core, so you can turn that into stalker production. Like, cannon rush is something I could talk to you about for another fucking hour. So I kind of just did a brief overview there. I made it like a really summed up version of it. But generally speaking, the one thing you need to understand if you go forge against cannons is you don't push cannons with forge. You stop him from pushing you. It's the whole point of a forge. So don't, if I go make a forge to deal with cannon rush, do not try to build a fucking pylon and 4 cannons on his 1 cannon or 2 cannons. It's never going to work out well for you. But what you can do is plant a cannon in an area where he's trying to push you, and now you pick off his probe. 1 cannon gets thrown down, and you kill the cannon before it even finishes, because you just destroy it with cannon DPS. So that's how that would work if you go forge there. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you don't want to, I'm not telling you to make 12 photon cannons. I'm telling you to make literally 1, maybe 2 cannons, and you're done.
Okay.
But yeah, that's, like I said, that's something I could talk about for like an hour. So I just wanted to give you a quick overview there of what that would be like. But otherwise, we'll kind of skip past that now and kind of resume what we're doing here. And you would see it now if it was actually a cannon rush, because it would be happening like now. But otherwise, yeah. So we have 16 out of 16 on the mineral line. We're scouting with probe 17 here, which is instead of mining gas with it, he's going to go scout. So our minerals are perfect, and we're still going to get a good scout that's going to see what he's doing before his core is done 100%. Like, this probe's going to see if he's going to go 1 gate or 2 gate before units are even out of the base. So that's what we really want to know, because that's going to tell if you need to have a probe ready to deal with adepts or not that could run into your base, which we talked about your last game in your replay. Okay, so we're going to his base right now. We are now going to rally my Nexus to the natural at 19 supply, so I can throw down my Nexus at 20.
Are we doing 2 gates though, or 1 gate?
Or yeah, sorry, we're actually doing 2. I don't know why I'm doing this. You're correct. I'm doing 2 gate. We're still on point. We're still on point. It's totally fine. You're right though. I'm wrong. I'm stupid. For some reason, I was referring to 1 gate here. So now we took 2 gateways, a core, and we have 2 gases. Same shit. It's just, yeah, it's 2 gate, not 1 gate. Our natural's a little bit delayed. Now your probe could be in his base. You're scouting whatever he's doing, and this probe, all you need to find out is like is he going 1 gate or is he going 2 gate, and how much chrono boost is he saving on that Nexus. If he's not saving chrono boost at all, it means that he's clearly going for faster gases, and like he wants that gas to be saturated faster. If he is saving chrono boost, it means that he's probably going for something more along the lines of he either wants to chrono boost his gateways, which makes more sense if he has 2 of them, or if he only has 1 gateway and he's also not chrono boosting, he probably wants to chrono boost tech. Like, he wants to chrono boost a robo, or he wants to chrono boost a Stargate, something like that. It's generally what that would mean. So chrono boost energy, number of gateways. That's what you want to see when you scout the Protoss.
Okay.
And then it kind of gives you an idea of what you're expecting to deal with in the build ahead that is going to come forward. Okay. And now your probe is on its way back. We can grab a probe now and take our Nexus for real. In just a second here. We'll prioritize Stalkers first. Okay. And now we're about to have it. And here comes your Nexus. So your Nexus is not going to go down at 20 supply anymore, like a 1 gate does. It's a little bit later because you're making Stalkers first. You have a fully saturated mineral line. And now you can keep making probes while you continue to do this. We can make our pylon here at our natural, so because we're going to supply block otherwise. And now we have a 2 gateway opener in our build that is here, essentially. Now, there's a lot of ways you can rotate your build here as to what you want it to be. And I wanted to explain this really fast so that it's not something that you're confused about. And that is chrono boost for you. You could chrono boost your Nexus or chrono boost your gateways. I would recommend chrono boosting your Nexus if you're fighting 2 gateway openers. I would recommend chrono boosting your gateways if you're fighting a 1 gateway opener. And what that does for you is if you're fighting 2 gateways and you also have 2 gateways, you don't really need to worry about being super aggressive. Just gradually make your Stalkers, defend your Nexus at your natural, and chrono boost your probes so that you get a nice economy going for yourself. Because if your opponent chrono boosts gateways, even though you have 2 gateways as well, as long as you don't let adepts run into your base with a probe there, you'll always have an equal number to Stalkers to what he has, or whatever unit he makes. It'll always be equal because he has to walk across the map. And that is the difference of, like, if he chrono boosted and he gets units a little faster, you're spawning into where you want to be already. So the chrono boost gets kind of canceled out there because he'll have just as much as you do when the player arrives as they cross the map. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, chrono boosting in 2 gateway on the gateway is kind of pointless. It doesn't really do anything for you there. But it does do a lot for you if you're fighting 1 gateway, because then it sets up a really aggressive pressure. So like this game, let's just hypothetically say this guy was going 2 gateways as well. I would not want to chrono boost the gateways. But last game, when I chrono boosted when I saw you were going 1 gateway, I absolutely chrono boosted the gateways to make a heavier Stalker pressure for you to deal with. And the difference is obviously you either get more Stalkers or you get more probes, because you're either chrono boosting the Nexus or you're chrono boosting the gateways. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, if you fight 2 gateway, you chrono boost Nexus. It's way better. Ideally, that's what I would recommend you to do. So I should be chrono boosting not my stalkers. I should be chrono boosting my Nexus for a little bit longer until I get ready to start like my Twilight Council, and then I could go into chrono boosting my Blink instead, and then I'm kind of done chrono boosting probes because now I'm gonna start chrono boosting upgrades because that's what this build kind of rolls with. Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna keep going with it. I'll pause one more time in just a second. Once we have 3 minutes, and we're gonna kind of compare builds again, as your build to the build that we're doing now, because we paused it at 3 minutes and I wanted to do the comparison. That's what we talked about. So one more time, pause it. Just do a quick comparison. At 3 minutes in your build, that was 1 gateway expand. You had 29 supply. Right now we have 33. You had a natural that was only 33 seconds of the way in. And our natural right now, you can probably see it. I actually, for some reason, can't see it because the game is fucking paused. But
I can't see it either.
Okay,
it's about halfway, just a little short.
Okay, so it's a 71-second build time then. So our Nexus is probably like 35 seconds of the way in then. It's almost the same as yours. And your build is a 1 gateway opener, and ours was a 2 gateway opener. So your expansion was still almost the same time. And then your warp gate was only 11 seconds of the way in, and I can't even fucking see mine either right now, but we see that after. But anyways, you had 1 Zealot, 1 Stalker, and a Sentry in production. We have 2 Stalkers and another Stalker in production. Basically, we're just, simply put, we have a little bit more probes in this build, which is a 2 gateway opener, than the build you had, which was a 1 gateway opener. So overall, we have more aggressive potential, and we have a little bit better economy as well. And the only reason why this makes sense is because in your build, you had a lot of money sitting there doing nothing for a little while because he was disruptive to you and he fucked you over with a probe, and things were a little bit late as well for you. But if that guy were to, if you were on time and that guy did this to you in this game when you had 2 gateways, you would literally just kill the probe and the fucking pylon immediately with your double gateway, and then you expand on time, and it wouldn't even matter. And you'd be like, cool, I don't give a shit, and I'm fine now. My stalker just eliminated that pylon. The only reason why you would ever leave the pylon and go take your third instead is if he went 1 gateway, you chrono boosted, and you wanted to quickly go to his base to do damage. So if you get pylon blocked, that's another factor that plays into account where if the guy goes 2 gateways and pylon blocks you, it probably makes more sense to kill the pylon and expand at your natural because you're going to play defensive anyways, because it makes more sense to chrono boost your probes there. But if he pylon blocks you and he's playing 1 gateway, don't take the bait and chrono boost your gateways to only kill the pylon and be really fucking late at attacking his base. Just go take your third as your natural and go to his base immediately. Because if he's going to also not only go 1 gateway against 2 gateways, but he's going to also invest 100 minerals into building a pylon at your natural, he's even lower in terms of defense now that he could possibly have at his base because he's investing another 100 to fucking with yours on top of only opening up 1 gateway. That your stalkers now, if you just run to his base right away, you're going to probably do more damage again on top of that. Like, the chances of you doing damage are more likely now again. Does that make sense as well?
Yep.
Okay. So that's how you'd want to deal with someone who plays like that based on if they go 1 or 2 gateway. And now from here on out, our Nexus was 40 seconds and our Cybercore was like 60 seconds. So they were fast as well, like faster than the notepad shit I wrote down. So now we can start getting ready to saturate our natural, keep chrono boosting our stalkers, keep chrono boosting our probes. And we have stalkers at our natural. We're just chilling while we build shit out of the gateways. We're all good. Probes now can stack on the Nexus because it's finishing. Keep chrono boosting. And now at this point, we can make our Twilight Council because we have the money for it. And now we're going to get a lot more money because the natural's done. It's now, in effect, probes are mining from it. So now the stalkers are popping out. Warp gate's finishing. And we can start going in. We can start saving our chrono now to go into Blink instead while we just keep making probes and stalkers.
Okay.
So for now, all we're doing is we're making probes and stalkers and we're chilling the fuck out. If he was 1 gateway, you'd already want to be aggressive. If he's 2 gateways, you'd be chilling right now. You don't get aggressive if you're going to be defensive. You don't get aggressive till you have Blink. That's why we want to save chronos for it, because it's really important to have Blink fast. So now the second that that's done, start Blink and immediately start a Robo and get ready to as soon as we can start a 3rd base. Okay. So now take a probe. Once we're fully saturated here, take a probe, get our third ready to go, walk over to our third here, like escort our probe for a second, start our third base. And now we have a third base that started. Keep chrono boosting our blink upgrade. Get a pylon going at your third base, maybe like 2 pylons, because we need, not only do we need a pylon for warp ins, we also need supply. But we're still making stalkers and probes. We're just making stalkers and probes. And I'm not going to stop making stalkers until I run out of gas, because we're prioritizing blink right now. And now we're going to make 1 observer. Just 1 observer, in case this is one of those moments where it's like, well, what if he goes fucking DTs? Well, we have an observer and we're not going to die if he goes DTs. And it's early enough to where it wouldn't kill us. The only way that observer would be late is if he was 1 base DTing you. It would be a little bit late then. But if you went 2 base DTs, you should be okay, mostly. Like with that kind of an observer, you'd be fine. Okay, and now behind this, we're going to get charge on our council, because we're done getting blink now. Now you could move out with your... you could actually move out now with your stalkers with blink. And then behind this, we want to rally to our third base. We'd want to set up like a 4th base, like right as the third base is finishing. Look at, like, as you can see, it's already like fully saturated. You want to make another observer. So I'm going to pause really quick and say a couple things. There's a couple things you'd want to do right now. Number 1, we have charge started. We're going to chrono boost charge. Number 2, we're making a 2nd observer just in case you get attacked by something with stealth while your stalkers are out of the base. Number 3, we're starting to make zealots now. We're making stalkers here and there when we can, but we're making zealots now because we're going to run out of gas. That's because we're only taking 2 gases. But we're also going to start a forge. So upgrades and tech units take priority over stalker, but every bit of gas we have that's left over goes into stalker. So charge takes priority. +1 weapons on a forge, when we start it in a second, is going to take priority. We're going to start the forge when we start making more gateways, which is going to be in just a second here. The observer takes priority over making stalker. But once we have like 2 observers, you just need 2 observers, 1 aggressively, 1 defensively. And once you have all your upgrades rolling and they're being chrono boosted, just make stalker zealot again. All your gas goes into stalker, the rest goes into fucking zealots. And we started a 4th base. The reason why we started the 4th so fast is because our 3rd base is already immediately fully saturated the second it was done. Because we oversaturated the shit out of the natural while we were taking the 3rd base. And now as soon as our 4th base is like halfway done, we're going to take a 5th base. So you take expansions incredibly fast with this build, but we're not going to take our 5th base before we make gateways. We're only taking our 4th base before we make gateways, because our 3rd base is like already fully saturated. But now we're going to make about 8 gateways in our main base, or wherever you want to make them. And then after we make 8 more gateways, which is going to take us to a total of 10 gateways, we are then going to make a 5th nexus, which is going to be where we're going to spend our money until our gateways are done being built, like they're actually finished in construction. And as soon as they're done, we're going to start slamming out zealot stalker, zealot stalker, zealot stalker. And then once your money grows a little bit again on top of that, you're going to make more gateways again, and you're going to go up to a total of like 20 gateways over time. And then you're just going to max out doing this, and you're going to stop making probes around 90 probes. And it's just zealot stalker otherwise. And then if you make it to a point where you have about 30 stalkers, okay? Try to keep that in mind. About 30, or like, we'll just say 32. And if you don't know what that means in terms of the grid of like the we're talking about like the bottom middle of the screen where you can like see that green the green like graph of your units or whatever, like where they're all assorted in a group essentially.
Yep.
That's 4 lines of it. So that each page of it is 3 lines of 8. So if you had 3 lines of all stalkers, and then you went into like page 2 and you had like 1 line of stalkers there as well, that's as much stalkers as you need. We're talking like 30-ish stalkers. Don't make more than that, because too many stalkers kind of sucks. So if you get to a point where you actually have 30 stalkers, stop making stalkers and start just making zealots instead, and all that extra gas should be going into upgrades. And if you still have extra gas, well, that's just going to be ready to be a transitional thing for you later on, once you have like 90 probes. And if you need to make a transition, but I think most of the time you're going to kill your opponent with these fucking units. Okay? That's just like, it's going to happen most of the time. Like, I'm not even kidding. Because this is a build that if you do it properly, it's just going to run your fucking opponent into the ground with zealots. It doesn't matter if they're going air. It doesn't matter if they're going ground. You're going to steamroll their base, and they're just going to die most of the time. The only time people really survive against this is if they have really, really, really good fucking micro and good positioning. And then you can, it's not even like you lose then. It's like you can go to step 2. That's why I said this build is insane. I can still beat people at like middle of GM with this build right now. It's fucking nuts. So that is what you want to be doing here. So again, we're going to take a 4th, take our gateways, take our forge, then take our 5th, and keep making probes till we have 90 and make mass zealot stalker. And we'll see how fast we max out, okay? With upgrades. So that's what we're going to do now. So these stalkers could be moving around. You could attack. You could put an observer over the side of his cliff. You could make you could blink into his base. Do anything you want to do creatively to attack your opponent with those stalkers. That's what you'd want to be doing right now. Don't
lose them.
Yeah, try not to lose them. They have blink, so always be ready to use blink defensively. Don't use blink aggressively unless it's to like blink over a cliff. Don't blink like, don't be like what they're doing right now. Don't go like that to blink into an army and fight it. That's fucking YOLO. Play conservative with your stalkers. Don't play YOLO as fuck, because you're not all-inning him, so there's no point to all-in him. You're playing for a longer game, so the whole point you should be going for is duration, like longevity of the game. You should be trying to like maximize time here. Okay, so we have our units being made. We have our upgrades being chronoed. Weapons and charge are being chronoed. All of our upgrades, or rather all of our gateways are still being made. 4th base is almost done. We have a little bit of money before my gateways are really coming online. We take our 5th base. We can take a couple of pylons at it as well. And now we start going back, like I said, into making stalkers and zealots until we hit about 30 stalkers. So make some stalkers because we have more gas lights ready to go. And then your stalkers that can be aggressive. You can poke. You can deny 3rd bases like this. You can be super fucking annoying with your stalkers that are out in the map aggressive. And then you just keep making your own stalkers and zealots. Keep chrono boosting your upgrades. And our probe count right now is at 71. We're getting closer. We're almost there. Keep making zealots and stalkers. Is this a coaching lesson vibe? Yes, this is a coaching lesson. Keep making units. Keep saturating for our 4th base now. And you can see my money's being spent really well on 10 gateways with a chrono boosted forge and 5 nexus. Like, we don't have 3,000 minerals in the bank, and I'm like, ah, shit, I'm not macroing. No, I'm running my army around as much as I can, and I'm macroing on cooldown as fast as I can repeatedly. Just trying to spend my money and keep my gateways pumping like hard constantly. Okay, and now we can see, do you see how my main base is now saturating? Like over?
Yep.
Because it's mining out. Transfer these probes. So this is around the time when you're going to be really close to 90 probes. I'm at 87. Transfer these probes to our natural, and now we can get ready here really soon to start making more gas. Because you're also, right now, about to max out. So don't make the gas yet. Don't make it yet. We're not ready just yet. We're getting close. We're starting to oversaturate. But we're not maxed yet. And again, our focus here is still on zealots. And it's on stalkers. So be totally okay right now with oversaturating. Just like really focusing on the mineral lines. Make some more gateways for a second here. But now I'm gonna pause one time really fast, because this is when your build again has options. If you want to go into Stargate, Robo, Templar Archive Tech, or Templar Tech, you could right now after your first max. And if you do, take all your gases at all of your bases and saturate minerals and gas combined with 5 base. And you'll have a crazy fucking gas explosion behind your zealot timing attack. But if you don't want to do that yet because your zealots are steamrolling your opponent and you're starving him out, instead of taking your tech right now, instead you can take more gateways and another base. So there are options with this build. I think what you should probably aim to do, honestly, take another base and then kind of like just stay on the zealot tech for a while. I think you should probably take your tech and your extra gases once you have 20 gateways and you're still not able to kill your opponent if he's able to still survive. Because one thing you can do that's really, 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 really good, that still is mineral only, that's progressive on top of what the build already is you can make a warp prism. And you can do a ton of attacks in the front of his base on just one control group, like group 1 if you want to. And warp prism could be on group 2. and you could fly the warp prism into the back of his main base, and you could warp in 20 fucking zealots at a time. And I guarantee you he'll break. Like, that is a lot of zealots. And then if your opponent somehow doesn't break to all of this, then you take your tech and you go into, like, I would say honestly, like, Skytoss would be a great call. Like, just start getting weapon upgrades on your core, get a Stargate, and then once your Stargate's done, make like 4 more Stargates and combine that with a fleet beacon, and then have like 5 Stargate fleet beacon carrier transition behind mass zealots. And if your opponent's like barely not dying repeatedly to like mass fucking zealots, you could just do like a carrier transition and call it a day. But basically, okay. So what are you thinking? How you feeling?
It seems great. I'm excited to try this out.
Any questions so far about anything?
Whenever is good. Like, could you just go over the beginning of the build through the expansion, like what the priorities are? Just because I'm not used to doing the 2-gate, and a bunch of stuff went down all at once, and I'm not sure that I have that part down.
So, 100%. We can talk about it one more time. But keep in mind too, this is going to be a recorded VOD, so you can watch this again as many times as you want. So if it should feel overwhelming because it's like an information overload, but at any point in time, you can always go back and listen to whatever I said before again and again and again, whenever you want. So so if there's anything else you feel unsure about throughout this, you can always go back and check it again. But generally speaking, all you want to do is you want to scout, is it 1-gate or 2-gate from your opponent? You're always going 2-gate yourself, and that should change your priority based on what he's doing for where your chronos go. Is it going to go into my gateways versus a 1-gate, or is it going to go into my nexus versus a 2-gate? And then from there, if you're chrono boosting your gateways, you're going to have a nexus getting thrown down a little bit later, probably after 4 stalkers. If you're having a nexus that's being chrono boosted and not if your gateways are not being chrono boosted though, and instead you're chrono boosting your nexus, you can throw down your expansion after 2 stalkers instead of 4, because you're not building them as fast.
And when does second gate, second gas pylon happen? Like what's the how many probes?
You build your very first probe that comes out of the nexus, builds a pylon. Then, so you don't wait on it, you build it right away with your first probe. Yep. And then you build your gateway as soon as your pylon is done. If you wait even 3 seconds, 4 seconds, 5 seconds, it feels like that's bad. You should be starting a gateway immediately when your pylon's got a pylon field ready to go. You're immediately starting that gateway within a second. And then you don't build gateway and then you build your gas as soon as you build your gateway. So gateway first, and then immediately make a gas. And then you chrono boost your probes at least once after the gateway, no matter what build he's doing, because this is before you scout. Then you fully saturate your mineral line to 16, and probe 17 goes and scouts your opponent. Okay? So you're not fucking with your minerals at all. And then the proper time of when you want to build gateway number 2 is when your first gateway is at 60% of the way done. Okay? When you're so that's like the best time to build it. You want to build your second gateway when your first gateway is a little bit more than halfway done. Like anywhere between 60 to 70% of the way done. That's perfect. Because a gateway, the reason why this makes sense is a gateway has a 46-second build time. A cyber core has a 36-second build time. So a gateway takes 10 seconds longer to build than a core. So if you build your gateway, your second gateway, when the first gateway isn't done yet, you can actually start the second gateway and then start the core as soon as you can, and those buildings will finish around the same time because it takes longer to build a gateway. So once you have 2 gateways done, then you do the whole chrono boost thing I told you about, and you can just make stalkers and you're good to go. Now your second gas starts as soon as you build, like right after you build your second gateway. So you just take a probe. You can take one of your probes. Don't touch your mineral line. Take a probe off of like your gas if you need to, or run your probe back for a second after you build gateway number 2. Go build your second gas, and then build your fucking core as soon as your first gateway is done. Just make sure if you take the probe that builds the gateway, you want to make sure that you're not running over to build a gas as your gateway's done because you delayed it or something like that. And then you're like, oh fuck, well now I'm not building a core for 7 seconds because I'm trying to build a gas now. If you mistime it a little bit, be totally okay with grabbing a probe off of your gas, your first gas. Go build a second gas, shift click it back into the first gas again. So you're not disrupting your build time of your core. That's huge to not fuck that up.
Okay.
So, and then, yeah, once you have your natural setup, you're just, at that point, if you do chrono boost your gateways, just do one round of chrono boost in your gateways and call it a day. Don't chrono boost permanently on your gateways, okay? I want to make sure that's clear. Just one chrono round, so 2 chronos on one gateway each. So it's 2 chronos in total on your gates to go poke your opponent and be extra aggressive right off the bat. And then go back to chrono boosting your Nexus regardless. But if it's a 1 gate, you can just skip the gateway chronos. Or sorry, if it's a 2 gate versus 2 gate, you can skip the gateway chronos and you can just straight up go into chrono boosting your Nexus. And you only stop chrono boosting your Nexus once your Templar Archives, or your Twilight Council has been started. Because then you're going to go blink heavy and you're going to go charge heavy and eventually you're going to go +1 weapons heavy and you're going to do upgrades instead. So you're going to be chrono boosting probes until genuinely you're like making your 3rd base.
Okay, that makes sense. And then when I'm attacking them with the army, set up the zealots so they come into a base from 2 sides, support with the stalkers.
Don't attack with zealots. Let me tell you this too. This is important. These are all judgment calls. Yeah. This is how the game needs to be played at higher level.
Yep.
You attack no matter what with Blink Stalker. Once Blink is done, you get aggressive. That's your like I said earlier. That's your aggressive trigger because you have a lot of ways to keep them alive in case you make a mistake, and you have a lot of ways to pressure annoyingly if he's defensive. So it can actually get a lot of damage done. Now, if you don't get a lot of damage done that you're looking for, and you just kind of like annoy him, but you don't really fuck him up a little bit. You just are annoying. You're like over there, but you're not doing anything really. You're just keeping him defensive. Don't move out with your zealots until you're maxed out on supply. Your 200 max, that's your power spike. That's when you go. And if you pair that with also making 1 warp prism, and then you can now also aggressively warp in on his side of the map, would reinforce the timing with the wave repeatedly, or you fly into his main base and you hit like his 3rd base while warping into his main base. You're going to win a lot of your games if you do that. Like, it's going to increase your power like crazy, and it's a really good power spike to hit on your opponent when you play that way. However, that's assuming your stalkers that have blink don't really do a whole lot. But let's just say you're fucking Houdini and you're like constantly like misdirecting him and he's taking damage everywhere and you're always blinking out at the last second and not taking damage while doing damage, and you're doing a great job. You could actually do a timing attack the second charge is done, which should be before you max out if you're chrono boosting the upgrades properly. You should probably be at like 170 or 160 supply when charge is done, not 200. But I hope that like it would make sense to do a timing attack if you're crippling him faster, because you're not capitalizing as much on your power spike of supply in total, but you are capitalizing on your window of opportunity because you're literally kicking his legs out from under him repeatedly. So you're not letting him like recover. You're like drowning his ass over there and you're just making him fall apart essentially. So
makes sense.
Yeah. So like you want to have a bit of a assertion to like when you should attack based on how you're doing with your first harass, which is your stalkers. And then behind that, only take your gas beyond 2 gas if you're going to tech switch. And again, tech switch means Skytoss. It means like you're going to make fucking 3 robos and go fucking crazy immortals. You're going to make a Temple Archives and make 15 Archons or something like that. That's a tech switch. We're not talking about you're just going to make more stalkers. So do not take more gas until you're going to tech switch. And if you're not going to tech switch and you feel like you're crushing your opponent with Zealot Stalker, be 100% okay with taking more than 5 bases. Take base number 6. Take base 7. Take base number 8. Take base 9. Because if you're constantly flooding him with Zealots and it's working, you're going to win the game eventually doing that. Only take gas when you tech switch. Because 2 gases is enough to support up to 30 stalkers and your charge and your forge upgrades. And your blink and like all that shit. And your observers. Like it's plenty of gas to do all of that.
Awesome. I'm really excited to try this out.
Nice. Yeah, hell yeah. So definitely save the replay. And I would say I didn't finish it off, but like I guess we could right here. Okay, I'll just do it really fast. I would say just 9 minutes could be like your max out, okay? Even though I did it at 8:58, whatever, who cares? If you can max out by 9 minutes, you're doing a good job. So not like make sure you mark that down. 9 minutes is like your threshold. And As soon as you do max, look how fast my money is going up. I can make fucking wave after wave after wave after wave of zealots whenever the fuck I want, because my income right now is absurdly high. I have 4,500 minerals a minute coming in right now. That's insane. That's way higher than normal. So you can make zealots for days. And that's why I said you want to make like 20 gateways as well. That's really important. Don't forget that. If you don't have 20 gates, you're going to have way too much money and you're never going to be able to spend it. But if you do have 20 gates, that's literally making 40 supply a round. And a zealot's cooldown on a gateway is really fucking fast. It's only like 21 seconds or something, or 23 seconds. It's 20 seconds. A zealot literally has a 20-second cooldown on a gateway. So, yeah, you're making... And if you chrono... Also, here's the thing. If you have a lot of Nexus now and you don't really have any chrono boost to spend on forges because you're like... It's already being upgraded and you're like, I have a lot of chrono. Do a round of chrono on your gateways. Like, chrono boost 7 gateways at once. And suddenly you're going to be like, zealot, 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 zealot. Like, really fucking fast. So, definitely do that. This build destroys ladder like crazy. It's very strong. And it only gets stronger the more effective you are with multitasking, stalker harass with macroing your base. Like, you can get really annoying with it. Like, that's why, like I said, that's why I can still make this build work at like 5.5k MMR on ladder or like 5.4k MMR, beating another Protoss with it when I'm Protoss as well. Because I am so fucking annoying with stalkers with Blink, which makes this hard to deal with as a follow-up.
Makes sense. And I like that it's kind of like it can scale up with as I get more comfortable with microing things and with splitting stuff up and doing multitasking and that kind of thing. Like I like that, and I like that it has options. Like
Yep.
I'm feeling good about this plan.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man. And it has a lot of versatility, like range as well, that I can have too, because, I mean, you can tech into whatever you want. I would say Skytoss would probably be the most effective tech, because if you're going mass zealot and they prepare for something on the ground that's meaty on the ground, and suddenly you have carriers, a lot of times they're just going to die. They're going to be like, what the fuck, you have carriers now? I made a bunch of disruptors, or I made a bunch of colossus. Okay, I'm fucking... Or like something like that, you know what I mean? Like, they might just die. But in general, like, carriers is a nice switch up if you want to do a tech switch. I feel like that's a really powerful move to do. But anything works. Whatever you want. Have fun with it. Do whatever you like. And see what you can do. But yeah, hell yeah, man. Thanks for doing a coaching lesson. As always, I'll upload the VOD. I guess, I mean, I just asked you this, but I'll ask you one more time in case you had one final one. Do you have any last questions before we end it?
So if I see that they're going Skytoss, when the tech switch time comes, do the tech switch and just get a bunch of Phoenix.
That's a great way to do it if you think you're behind. So like a Phoenix to carrier, or like Archon plus Templar with Storm, both of those options are what you would say is like a hard counter to carriers if you do it properly. So like it's really cost efficient. But if your opponent was like, let's say, going carriers, and you were going carriers, but you just had more money, you shouldn't even care, because you'll just have more and you'll win anyways. It's like he would need to be the guy going for Phoenix or Archon Templar then to play more cost efficient against you going carriers, if that makes sense. But gotcha. If you have a lead already, you shouldn't even care. It's only when you're like, oh fuck, I need to do something efficient now. What can I do? That's like a specialist composition for like carrier specifically. Because Archon Templar or straight up Mass Phoenix is not going to be good versus other things like it is going to be good versus carrier.
Gotcha, makes sense.
All right, man. Well, hell yeah. Thanks for doing it. I appreciate it. Good luck. And yeah, I fucking hope this makes you own, man. And I think it will. This build fucking is deadly. I feel like by tomorrow you'll message me and you'll be like, wow, okay, yeah, people just died to zealots. This is crazy.
I'm excited.
All right. Well, good luck, dude. Don't forget the prism. That's a huge part of it. I didn't show you that in this game, but definitely your robo's doing nothing and a prism's pure minerals, and it's only the same supply as a zealot. If you just add a prism in and you have like a prism going back to the main right now while you do an attack like at his third base or some shit, it is so powerful. If you just remax a warpin in his main and suddenly his nexus dies, all the probes die, pylons are dying, gateways are dying, shit just fucking dies because zealots kill bases pretty fast with weapon upgrades. It gets out of control pretty quickly. But yeah. Much love, dude. I'll see you on stream or in who knows, maybe in the next coaching lesson, whenever that might be. But good luck, and thank you, dude.
Thank you.
All right, have a good rest of your night, man.
You too.
All right, peace.
See ya.
All right, hell yeah. Guys, thanks for watching that. Appreciate you. Much love. Hope you learned something as well. And I will see you guys in the next video we post, whatever it might be, probably in the next couple days or tomorrow or something. But yo, much love. Take it easy. Good luck. And thanks for watching. Later, guys.